Welcome. This is the guided meditation for premature ejaculation. I am your host, the relationship coach, Anthony John Bartlett at relationshipteacher.com, source for the best advice and relationship coaching services for you and your relationship, whether that's a personal issue, sex issue, or couples issue. Now, this guided meditation is only concerning premature ejaculation, even though there may be accompanying performance anxiety or erectile dysfunction. We are going to focus entirely on premature ejaculation, and I promise you, you are going to feel a lot better at the end of this guided meditation. Now, first off, the most interesting aspect that I have found about PE is that most individuals end up self-diagnosing themselves. And what's interesting is that they do this based off of one or maybe few instances. Often they might even do it over a long period of time in which maybe 10% of their sexual experiences end up being short, and they catastrophize and end up thinking that it must be a problem. So we are going to set the record straight. I'm going to tell you exactly what qualifies premature ejaculation. Most likely, the vast majority of individuals actually don't have it. So, individuals, let's say about 20 to 30% of the population tend to think they have premature ejaculation. Now, part of this is from internet articles or even some published research studies that have different criteria for premature ejaculation. The problem with that is that individuals see that and think it must apply to them without looking at the criteria that they used. So we are going to use the criteria laid out in the DSM-5, which is how we look at mental disorders, sexual disorders, things like that. The DSM-5 is the resource. Now, only 1 to 3% of the population actually have premature ejaculation that is clinically significant. Now, what does that mean? That means that you've had it for 6 months. And that encompasses 75+% of sexual experiences. Now, there's a little give and take here because you have to understand some individuals have sex very infrequently. So we have to be careful in judging an individual based on their infrequency. Now, next is the most important aspect. The ejaculation being less than 1 minute into intercourse. It is not 1 minute and 1 second. It's not 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or 5 minutes. It's 1 minute or less. And the degrees of severity start from there. It would be classified as mild if it was only 1 minute, and severe if it was 15 seconds or less. So right away, we have probably cleared the air on 90+% of individuals that might be listening to this guided meditation. But they still might say, yeah, but I'm not in control. Or I want to last longer. My romantic partner wishes that we could have sex for longer. Or an individual might think, hey, but that porn actor lasts for an hour. I want to be just like him. Now, there are incredible benefits to having control over your ejaculation. And these go into relationship benefits or even just personal enjoyment, but also your partner's sexual satisfaction. That doesn't mean that you have to last 5 minutes or 10 minutes or an hour. Some individuals might think, hey, that porn actor does it. Shouldn't I last an hour, 2 hours? I want you to really think about this. What if you had to thrust for 30 minutes or an hour just to have the hope of ejaculating? Wouldn't that be a different kind of nightmare? Now think about that. In that instance, your partner might become incredibly sore and then in the long term get so uncomfortable with having sex that sex becomes basically not an option. So we have to really think about it. What is the actual goal in mind? Is it to be a porn actor, or is it to have a mutually beneficial sexual experience with your romantic partner? Now, I want to tell you that there is a sort of progression to sexual satisfaction in a man. Upon entering the female anatomy, there is this escalation in pleasure. And for individuals who have control, it's relatively flat. It tends to rise, but it kind of plateaus. And the man can do different things to stay in that plateau for a little bit longer. The man that has less control, the escalation is more steep. And the interesting thing about this particular notion is that there's kind of a period that if you get past a certain amount of time, it kind of calms down. So you get past maybe a minute, maybe 2, and then it kind of projects you into 5 or 10 minutes. So you can get a steep beginning and then it might level off. So there's various aspects to control. And it always centers around understanding, using patience, and ultimately not holding back. So this guided meditation will help program your subconscious. Now, before we get into the guided meditation, I want to leave you with a quote from Bernie Zilbergeld, probably one of the most famous sex therapists on the planet. And I think it'll help you out a lot. Rapid ejaculation is almost always due to a lack of knowledge, attention, or skill. End quote. I want you to think about that in the next days and weeks. Now, I want you to find yourself into a comfortable position in a comfortable and calm environment. Note, I do not want you to be doing this while you have other tasks at hand, whether that's your cell phone, work, driving, or relationship commitments. This time, you need to have entirely to yourself. Preferably, it can help if you dim the lights, remove any noise from the local environment, and just start to unwind. I want you to start breathing deeper. And as you breathe, I want you to just count to yourself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as you breathe, you're going to elongate each breath, where your next breath might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. With your next breath, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wonderful. I want you to breathe in and imagine all of the love and relaxation from the world around you entering your lungs, being absorbed into your blood as your heart pumps those oxygenated blood cells throughout your body into your mind, releasing relaxation, melting unease and tension. As the blood continues, the relaxation flows into your arms and into your legs, loosening up any soreness or muscle tension. And even more throughout the rest of your body, into the fingertips and the very tips of all of your toes. And as you breathe out, all of that tension just evaporates into the atmosphere. I want you to remember a time when things were incredibly calm, relaxing, and you had no preoccupations, where things just flowed. You had nowhere to be. You could just be there for as long as you would like. Perhaps you remember a time when you greatly anticipated visiting your romantic partner, and you got dressed and headed out and began walking down the street. You were so excited. They began running, but you remembered to just calm down. So as you're walking down the street, you slow down and you look around at the beautiful environment, enjoying all the scenery as you stroll through. You see wonderful trees, and you feel the urge possibly to pick up the pace, but you are enjoying the walk so much. So much so that you still anticipate arriving, but you can't help but enjoy getting there as well. And perhaps you just stop for a moment and think about how excited you are, but also how happy you are to have this relationship. And once you've fully appreciated the moment, but also become re-aware of how wonderful the relationship is, you begin walking again, realizing it might take you 10 minutes, 20 minutes, who knows? It could take you as long as it has to arrive at your destination. Now as you're walking, you remember a time that you were having sex, and maybe you were a little nervous. Maybe your partner was nervous too. And things ended almost as soon as they began. And maybe you felt that they might judge you. So instead of enjoying the moment, you thought about the judgment that might come, worrying about a single incident in what's otherwise a wonderful relationship. Now, as you're strolling with a calm but steady pace, I want you to imagine imparting your calmness, relaxation, and non-judgmental attitude to that former self, almost as if you could give yourself back in time. What would you teach your old self? Would you teach your old self not to worry so much? Would you teach yourself it was only one incident? There's nothing to become anxious about. When in reality, it was a wonderfully joyful moment. Now I want you to imagine maybe your ideal sexual encounter where you and your romantic partner exchange much romance and love before any penetration occurs. And you begin making love, and you just lose yourselves into one another. You lose any concept of time. The only thing you are doing is feeling. There are no thoughts. The only thing you and your partner are doing is feeling the pleasure throughout your body, experiencing the love that you have for one another. And whenever the climax comes, it's greatly appreciated by both individuals, because all of the pleasure that occurred bringing it to that point, as your partner realizes their part in bringing you to climax, how wonderful a lover they must be to bring you to climax, however long or short that was. You both revel in the moment. As you continue walking along, you smile as you're closer and closer to getting to your destination and re-embracing your romantic partner. And you can just imagine living in this moment forever, living in this excitement and happiness to have that relationship, to have this calmness and relaxation, and to know that you can slow down at any time and make the pleasure last even longer. Heighten the anticipation and make it just a little better when you embrace your partner. Now, a few minutes later, you finally stroll right up to your partner's house. And your romantic partner was waiting. You didn't even have to open the door. As they come out and embrace you and accept you exactly as you are. And you accept them as you give them the warmest embrace. Now, you two have the rest of time to live in this moment. For it's only humans that give concept to time. By being mindful, we can make every moment that much more special. By feeling everything with our five senses instead of living in our minds. If we lived in our minds, we would have no senses, for the mind has no sense. It's just an idea. So as you're embracing your partner, there are no thoughts. There are only feelings. There's the feeling in the body of excitation. There's the feeling on the skin from the breeze rolling through, from the touch of your beloved. With your eyes, you see the most wonderful person. With your ears, you hear the sound of an angel. With your nose, you smell their sweet scent, and use your mouth to taste their kiss. And you enjoy this moment. It's not the last, but it can last as long as you want it to. Now I want you and your romantic partner to enter through the door and truly embrace one another, becoming fully intimate, fully accepting one another, regardless of any worry, regardless of any past failures. You accept one another and can work through any minor setback. And as you go through the door, I want you to start feeling your body again. I want you to feel your toes, maybe some sensations in your stomach. Maybe you have the butterflies from thinking about your beloved. Maybe you have an itch that you've desperately wanted to scratch. Start feeling it. Start feeling your shoulders. And start moving your eyebrows. Twinkle your ears as you come fully back to full and conscious awareness. Now, I hope that was as relaxing for you as it was for me. I can impart some final messages on you, and they are to speak some truth, but also some hope. As many as 80 or 90% actually go on to develop ejaculatory control. Now, what about those 10 or 20% that don't? Well, if you look at the quote that I gave you at the beginning by Bernie Zilbergeld, and I'll repeat it right now, rapid ejaculation is almost always due to a lack of knowledge, attention, or skill. Now we have two conclusions. Those that don't develop control did not do the work and need to. Now the others might have a medical disorder. So we always want to tell an individual to see a medical doctor in those instances. But for the vast majority of individuals, there is a lot we can do to give ejaculatory control. What we always have to consider, though, is to have realistic goals in mind, not arbitrary ones based upon pornography or criticism from a past romantic partner, for instance. Indeed, the most important thing you can do is to clue in your romantic partner. Now, that might be hard to do, but it's going to be critically important for your relationship. Because if you're in a great relationship, most likely they're going to help. Now, sometimes a romantic partner doesn't want to have anything to do with it, and we can still work to address the issue. It just imposes a little bit more difficulty. And we also have to consider that if there's any distress or arguments that are going on and on and on with you and your romantic partner, that there might be that to blame for any sexual issues. In fact, an individual most likely will not get diagnosed with a sexual dysfunction if there is severe distress in the relationship. Again, only 1 to 3% of the population truly do not have ejaculatory control. Now, if all of those individuals actually attempted to learn new skills and understandings, then that number would probably be less than 1%. Most likely, I'm talking to a great number of individuals who are more worried about their current situation than actually have something that would be diagnosed as a sexual dysfunction. That doesn't mean there's no work to do. And that doesn't mean you have to do work or that something's wrong with you. What I'm going to tell you is that you should do the work so that you can enjoy sex more. And it feels better, and your partner likes it better. It's not about success or failure. It's about maximum enjoyment and being happy with the sex that you do have. I greatly appreciate you for joining me in this guided meditation. Again, I do ask that you visit me at relationshipteacher.com. If you have more needs, definitely seek me out, and I will do my best to help you. If you have relationship troubles, hey, that's what I do all day long. So, I want you to go on, have a great day, and definitely listen to this whenever you need to calm down a bit and put things into perspective. Thank you so much.